Hey everyone! So today we're going to talk about electron configuration. And before we do that, I just want to briefly review what we learned about orbitals. And so we know that we have specific energy levels, and our energy levels are designated by numbers. And so we could have energy level 1, energy level 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's going to continue on. And so again, those energy levels are like the main places that we are going to see those electrons, the main energies that our electrons can have. Within each energy level, you can have sublevels. And our sublevels were our s orbitals. Those were the spherical orbitals. We have the p orbitals. Those are the ones that are like dumbbells. We have the d orbitals, and those are the ones that are like clovers. And then we have the f orbitals that are really, really complex in shape. Right, and let's just refresh how many electrons these things, or not electrons, how many different orbitals are within these. And so there is only one s orbital. There's 3 p orbitals. There's 5 d orbitals, and there are 7 f orbitals. So this is the number of orbitals right here. All right, each one of these can hold 2 electrons, and so the number of electrons that these things can hold, if there's one orbital and it can hold 2, then s orbitals can hold 2 electrons. If there's 3 p orbitals and each of them can hold 2, then our p orbitals will hold 6 electrons. There's 5 d orbitals, and again, if each can hold 2, then it can hold 10 electrons. And then our f orbital has 7 orbitals, and each holds 2, so it can hold 14 electrons. Again, that's all stuff that we just looked at in the last, I guess, yesterday. And so we're going to build off of this, and we're going to learn how to write electron configurations. But one more thing before we do, we're going to write out what sublevels exist in each energy level. And so if I'm looking at energy level 1, remember I said that one only has an s orbital. And so in energy level 1, we can have an s sublevel. Right? In energy level 2, I can have an s sublevel, and I can have a p sublevel. And so the way I'm writing this, I'm writing energy level and sublevel. Right, so then in the third energy level, I can have an s orbital, I can have a p orbital, and I can have a d orbital. Moving on to the fourth energy level, I can have an s, I can have a p, I can have a d, and I can have an f. In the fifth, I can do the same thing. And the sixth, ooh, that's supposed to be 6. And I'm actually going to start caving off. For the elements that we know, this is going to be the sublevels that get filled with electrons. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start dropping off. All right. Again, you could write that out more, but I know that we aren't going to actually need those. And so these are the possible sublevels that exist in each of our energy levels. Again, the first number represents your energy level. The second one is your sublevel. All right. And so again, we're going to look at electron configuration. And so what electron configuration is it tells us how we arrange our electrons, or how electrons are found arranged around the nucleus. What sublevel are they in? What energy level are they in? And so again, the ways in which electrons are arranged in various orbitals around the nucleus. of your atom, right? And so we want to figure out, how do our electrons fill orbitals? Well, they follow 3 rules. We're only really going to focus on the one, and it's the Aufbau principle. And so the Aufbau principle says electrons occupy orbitals of lowest energy first. And so remember, we have energy level 1, 2, 3, 4. It will fill in that order. It will fill energy level 1 first, and then energy level 2, and then energy level 3, and then energy level 4, and so on. Our sublevels increase in energy in the S, then the P, then the D, and then the F. And so it's going to fill the S first, and then it's going to fill the P, and then the D, and then the F. And we actually have found energies, and we have mapped out the energy levels. And so this is the order in which our energy levels are going to fill. Because our lowest energy, again, notice this is increasing energy. So our lowest energy level is energy level 1, and the lowest sublevel is the S. And so it's going to fill the 1S level first. Then it's going to fill the 2S, and then the 2P. And then it's going to fill 3S, and then 3P. And here's this little trick here. It's going to overlap with the 4th energy level. So this D sublevel is actually a little bit higher than the S. And so it's going to fill the 3S, then the 3P, and then the 4S, and then the 3D, and then 4P, 5S, 4D, 5P, 4F. Oh, sorry, I skipped 6S, 4F, 5D, 6P, 7S, 5F. And so again, this is just showing our increasing energy levels. Again, notice that some of these overlap. And so there is a little trick. If you write out all of your energy levels, then we'll notice that it's filling 1S, then 2S, then 2P, and there's actually a little crossover that we could put in this. And so it fills, if we draw diagonal lines through the thing that we just wrote, it's going to fill 1S, and then it fills 2S, and then it fills 2P, and then 3S, and then 3P, and then 4S, 3D, 4P, 5S. And notice that pattern continues on all the way through. And so if you write out your energy levels and draw those diagonals, it tells you the order in which these things fill. So it kind of shows you that increasing energy. Right, so how do we write electron configuration? That is the next thing that we want to look at. And so when we write electron configuration, we're going to use our energy levels and our sublevels, kind of like I just wrote here. And so if I were looking at something that was filling the 1s orbital, right? And so let's say it only had 1 electron. And so say I was looking at hydrogen. So hydrogen has 1 electron. And so it's going to fill that electron in the lowest energy level, in the lowest sublevel of that energy level. And so it's going to put 1 electron in there. This is the electron configuration for hydrogen, right? And so this 1 tells you number of electrons in the orbital. Again, the S tells you the sublevel you're filling, and the 1 tells you what energy level you're dealing with. All right, so let's say we moved on to helium. Helium has 2 electrons, and so it's going to fill the 1 sublevel first, or the 1 energy level first. It's going to fill the S sublevel, and remember, each sublevel can hold 2 electrons, and so those 2 electrons are going to go into the S sublevel. All right. Moving on to our next one, which is lithium. If we're looking at lithium, lithium has 3 electrons, right? And it's going to fill the 1s sublevel first. And remember, that one is filled with 2 electrons. S can only hold 2. Right, so I filled my 1s orbital. that tells me I'm going to go back in and I'm going to fill my 2s. That's my next diagonal, right? Well, I've already used 2 of my electrons right here, and so there's only 1 electron to go into that orbital. So this used 1, 2, 3 electrons, right? Going on to beryllium. Beryllium has 4 electrons. Okay, again, I'm going to fill the 1s orbital first, and it fills with 2. And then I'm going to work on filling my 2s orbital. It only holds 2. And so this is the electron configuration for beryllium. All right, if I moved across to boron, I'm going to fill 1s2. I'm going to fill my 2s2. And since I've filled this, because it's holding 2 and that's the maximum it can hold, then I'm going to go work on my 2p sublevel. And so I'm going to fill 2p. Well, this guy only has 5 electrons. And so I've used 1, 2, 3, 4. And so there's my 5th one. All right, so this is telling me that it fills, if this is my nucleus, it puts 2 electrons in this spherical orbital. And then it's going to put 2 electrons in my next spherical orbital. And then I have one of those p orbitals that looks like this, and 1 electron is going in there. Right, I'm going to stop this video and then do some more so that if you don't think you need to keep watching, then that's cool. And if you want more examples, then I will continue on in that other video. Maybe, if it lets me.